Most of the syrup Americans pour on their pancakes every weekend has never been anywhere near a maple tree. You reach for the bottle with the cozy cabin, the smiling grandmother, the word maple in warm script, and you assume you're buying something a tree made. Flip it over. The first ingredient on most of these bottles is corn syrup, then high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, and a shelf-stable preservative. Some of the most trusted names in the breakfast aisle contain zero maple whatsoever. One of them was sued over the words all natural. Today, 9 syrups to put straight back and 4 that are actually real maple. The one at number 1 is the most recognized breakfast name in America, and it hasn't contained a drop of maple in generations. Every fact here comes from the ingredient label, published lab studies, and federal court records. Let's get into it. Number 9, Golden Griddle. The tall bottle with the diner lettering. The one that looks like it came off the table at a roadside pancake house. That's the entire pitch. It reads as restaurant syrup, the kind a real griddle cook would reach for. And for a lot of families, it's been the everyday bottle for decades. Flip it over. The first ingredient is corn syrup. The second is high fructose corn syrup. After that, caramel color, salt, and artificial flavor. There is no maple in it, not a trace, not a percentage, nothing. The maple look on the front is done entirely with brown dye and lab flavoring. Pour a spoonful and hold it to the light. It's uniformly glossy, the same flat brown all the way through, with none of the amber depth real maple has. The smell is sweet and slightly chemical, not the wood smoke and caramel of a tree. It coats the tongue and stays there, because that's what concentrated corn syrup does. Golden Griddle is made by ACH Food Companies, which is owned by Associated British Foods, a global conglomerate pulling in over $20 billion a year. The homey diner bottle is a marketing costume on an industrial sweetener for anyone over 50 managing blood sugar. This matters more than the price tag suggests. High fructose corn syrup spikes glucose fast and is metabolized by the liver in a way that drives insulin resistance over time. Pouring it every weekend is a standing load on a system many older adults are already fighting to keep stable. It's the cheapest kind of fake, and it's honest about almost nothing. The next one hides behind a label you already trust because it has your own grocery store's name on it. Number 8, Great Value, the Walmart store brand. This is the bottle a lot of households grab without a second thought, and choosing it is not a mistake. It's the affordable option on a shelf full of expensive ones, and buying it because money is tight isn't indifference. It's arithmetic. The problem isn't the shopper, it's what the bottle is. Flip it over. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, water, then cellulose gum, salt, caramel color, sodium benzoate, and sorbic acid. That's not a discount version of maple syrup. It's a different product wearing Maple's clothes. Cellulose gum is what gives it that thick, clingy body, the texture engineered to feel richer than the sweetener underneath actually is. Squeeze the bottle and watch how it moves. It runs in a smooth, slightly rubbery ribbon and holds its shape on the plate a beat too long. Real maple doesn't do that. Real maple is thinner and breaks differently. Great Value is Walmart's own label, and Walmart moves over $600 billion a year in sales. A store this size could put real maple on the shelf at a fair price, and in the same aisle it usually does, one shelf over, for a few dollars more. It chooses the corn syrup formula for the value slot because the margin is better and the customer trusts the store's name to mean the product is fine. For someone managing type 2 diabetes or on blood pressure medication, the daily concern is the same high fructose corn syrup load plus sodium benzoate, a preservative some studies have linked to reactions in sensitive people. Cheap isn't the crime. pretending to be maple is. The next one goes a step further and wears an entire state's name like a promise it never keeps. Number 7, Vermont Made. Look at the name. Vermont, the state that is synonymous with maple, the place people picture when they imagine sap dripping into a bucket in the snow. The name is doing enormous work before you've read a single word of the label. It tells you, without technically claiming anything, that what's inside came from a Vermont sugar bush. Flip it over. High fructose corn syrup, water, and maple flavor. There is no Vermont maple in Vermont Made. There is no maple in it at all, only a flavoring meant to imitate one. The state on the front is a costume. Taste it against the real thing, and the difference is immediate. The maple flavor arrives as a single flat sweet note, the same synthetic impression from the first spoonful to the last, with none of the shifting caramel and mineral depth real maple carries. Vermont Made is owned by B&G Foods, a publicly traded company that bought the brand from Nabisco in 1997 and runs it inside a portfolio of dozens of grocery labels. There's no farm, no sugar house, no Vermont in the ownership either. For an older shopper who specifically reached for this because Vermont sounded like the honest choice, that's the real betrayal here. You paid a small premium for a word, and the word was the entire product. The blood sugar concerned is the same as every corn syrup bottle before it. But the deeper cost is the one on the label. The next brand isn't hiding behind a place. It's been passed between corporate owners so many times that the folksy name on the front stopped meaning anything a long time ago. Number 6, Hungry Jack. The loud, friendly breakfast brand. The microwavable squeeze bottle that's been on kitchen tables for as long as most people can remember. It feels like a permanent fixture, something that's always just been there, which is exactly why nobody thinks to question what's in it. Flip it over. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, water, cellulose gum, salt, caramel color, sodium hexametaphosphate, and artificial flavor. It's the same industrial recipe as the store brand, 2 shelves down, dressed in a bigger name. Sodium hexametaphosphate is a texture and shelf stability additive, the kind of thing that belongs in processed cheese, not in something a tree is supposed to make. Warm it and pour it, and it behaves like every other corn syrup bottle. Thick, uniform, chemically bright. Here's the part most people never track. Hungry Jack is no longer owned by a food company in the way people assume. It sits inside Hometown Food Company, a portfolio business of the private equity firm Brynwood Partners, which buys older grocery brands specifically to run them for cash flow. The friendly name is an asset on a spreadsheet now. For anyone over 50, the health math doesn't change with the size of the brand. It's still a concentrated, high fructose corn syrup load hitting the bloodstream on a Saturday morning. Still the same slow pressure on insulin and triglycerides that older bodies clear less efficiently every year. A familiar name is not the same as a safe ingredient list. The next one is where this stops being about bad ingredients and starts being about what a company was willing to print on the front of the bottle, because it got taken to court over exactly 2 words. Number 5, Log Cabin. This is the one that markets itself as the honest alternative. The packaging leans on a rustic cabin imagery, and for years the front has emphasized no high fructose corn syrup and, at various points, all natural. It's aimed precisely at the shopper who flipped over the other bottles, saw the corn syrup, and went looking for something better. Log Cabin positions itself as the reward for that effort. Then you read the panel. The base is still corn syrup and sugar, joined by cellulose gum, molasses, caramel color, and natural flavor. It is sweetener and dye engineered to resemble maple, just with a cleaner sounding story on the front. The all-natural claim became a legal problem. In a class action, A buyer alleged the all-natural labeling was false because the syrup contained synthetic ingredients like caramel color and xanthan gum, and the maker eventually moved to pull the caramel color to fall in line. Hold the bottle and read the front and the back together. The front sells you a promise. The back is the ingredient list that promise couldn't survive. Log Cabin is owned by Conagra Brands, a multi-billion-dollar packaged foods company that acquired it in the Pinnacle Foods deal. For an older shopper who chose this specifically to do the right thing, the sting is that the corn syrup base is still there under a better paragraph. If this breakdown is helping you see the aisle more clearly, a quick like genuinely helps more people find it, because the last few are the biggest names on the shelf. The next one is pure nostalgia, and nostalgia is exactly what it's selling you instead of maple. Number 4, Maple Grove Farms of Vermont. This one is different, and it's important to be fair about why. Unlike everything above it, this is real maple syrup, grade A, pure. The reason it's on this list isn't the sap, it's the story wrapped around it. The label reads like a small Vermont family operation, the kind with a red barn and a few hundred taps. What you're actually buying is a brand owned by B&G Foods, the same publicly traded conglomerate that owns Vermont Made, the corn syrup bottle from earlier in this list. One parent company, one shelf, two opposite promises. The artisan Vermont image is a corporate asset, not a farm. Here's the test, and it's not a taste test, because real maple does taste real. It's a label test. Look for where the syrup was actually made and whether the company publishes third-party testing. Pure maple has a documented history of picking up lead from processing and storage equipment, galvanized drums, older brass fittings, and the brands worth trusting are the ones that publish heavy metal results to prove they've dealt with it. A conglomerate brand riding a Vermont picture rarely volunteers that, and this is the same corporate parent whose other syrup 2 aisles over is straight corn syrup. For an older adult, even genuine maple is concentrated sugar and should be treated like it on a blood sugar plan. But the specific issue here is transparency. You're paying a premium built on the image of a family farm that isn't running the company. The next 3 are the biggest, most recognized names in the entire aisle. The ones people have trusted for generations, and that trust is exactly what makes them the worst offenders on this list. Number 3, Mrs. Butterworth's. The bottle itself is the marketing, molded into the shape of a warm, matronly grandmother. It's designed to feel like something homemade, something a real person stirred on a stove. Generations grew up with that bottle on the table, and the name promises butter and, by implication, the wholesome breakfast of memory. Flip the grandmother over. High fructose corn syrup, water, caramel color, salt, cellulose gum, sodium hexametaphosphate, and preservatives. There is no butter in Mrs. Butterworth's. There is no maple in it either. The buttery richness people associate with it is caramel color for the look and artificial flavor for the taste. Sitting on a corn syrup base, pour it warm and it smells sweet and faintly buttery, and that impression is entirely engineered. The grandmother is a costume on an industrial sweetener, the same base as the store brand, sold at a nostalgia premium. The only genuinely homemade thing about it is the molded plastic shape of the bottle. Every flavor note inside was built in a factory. Mrs. Butterworth's is owned by Conagra Brands, the same multi-billion-dollar company behind Log Cabin. 2 nostalgic American syrups, 1 corporate parent, identical corn syrup underneath, aimed at 2 different kinds of memory. For the older shopper, this bottle is aimed squarely at the one buying the syrup their own mother poured. It's a concentrated high fructose corn syrup load, dressed as a childhood memory, hitting an aging metabolism that handles it worse every year. The friendly shape doesn't change the panel. The next one is the version people specifically switch to when a doctor tells them to watch their sugar, and it may be the most cynical bottle on this entire list. Number 2. Aunt Jemima Butter Light, now sold under the Pearl Milling Company name. This is the bottle marketed to the person doing everything right. It's the light, reduced sugar option, positioned for the shopper managing their weight, or, more often, managing diabetes, the one who reads the calorie count and picks this because it feels like the responsible choice on the shelf. That framing is exactly the problem. Flip it over. Water is the first ingredient now, followed by cellulose gum, then sucralose and acesulfame potassium, 2 artificial sweeteners, plus caramel color, salt, preservatives, and artificial flavor. To cut the sugar, they didn't add maple. They added a chemistry set. There's still no maple anywhere in it. Pour it, and it runs thin and watery, and the sweetness arrives with that particular lingering, slightly metallic edge. Artificial sweeteners leave at the back of the tongue the taste that doesn't quite leave. This is a PepsiCo product, and PepsiCo is a company measured in the tens of billions. Here's why this one sits so high. The people most likely to reach for a light syrup are older adults whose doctors told them to cut sugar, often because of type 2 diabetes. Selling that exact person a bottle of sucralose, acesulfame, and cellulose gum dressed as the healthy option is the most cynical move in the aisle. There's a quiet trick in it too. The cellulose gum and caramel color do the work of body and color that sugar used to, so the bottle still looks and pours like syrup while being almost none of it. The responsible-looking choice is a synthetic cocktail, and it's only number 2 because the bottle it descends from, the single most trusted breakfast name in America, is still ahead of us. Number 1. Aunt Jemima, now Pearl Milling Company, owned by PepsiCo through Quaker Oats. For over a century, this was the most recognized breakfast name in America, the default bottle in tens of millions of homes, the one people mean when they just say pancake syrup. In 2021, the brand was renamed Pearl Milling Company, after the Aunt Jemima name and image were finally acknowledged as a racial caricature the company had profited from for generations. The name on the front changed. The formula did not. Flip it over. Corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, water, cellulose gum, caramel color, salt, sodium hexametaphosphate, natural and artificial flavor, and preservatives. After more than 100 years as America's syrup, there has never been maple in it. Not in the original recipe, you remember. Not in the bottle on the shelf today. Pour it, and it's the definitive version of everything on this list. Uniform brown, glossy, chemically sweet, coating the plate in a way real maple never does. This is number 1, not because it's chemically the worst, but because it's the most trusted. And the trust is the mechanism. PepsiCo earns tens of billions a year. It could put real maple in this bottle. It doesn't, because 3 generations of loyalty mean most people never turn it over. And a name that trusted can absorb the truth about its own ingredient list. For an older adult pouring the syrup their grandmother poured, it's the same high fructose corn syrup load sold by the most trusted name in the aisle. Now that you know what to put back, here are the 4 that are actually real maple. And after that list, the difference is impossible to miss. Best option number 4, Coombs Family Farms. Start here because this is the accessible one, the real maple you can actually find at Walmart, on Amazon, and in most grocery stores, usually for a few dollars more than the corn syrup bottles it sits near. The ingredient list is one word: maple syrup. That's the entire panel. Coombs is a maple family going back 7 generations, and their organic line is certified organic, meaning the sugar bushes are managed without the synthetic inputs conventional operations can use. They package their own product and source from a network of small family sugar makers who share the same standards. We're not handing you a flawless label. to trust blindly. It's a larger operation sourcing from many farms, not a single hillside. But it's real maple, certified and honest about what it is. Open it, and the difference from everything on the avoid list is instant. The color has actual depth, amber shifting toward brown with light passing through it, not a flat uniform dye. The aroma is real, caramel and a little wood smoke and mineral underneath. It pours thinner than the gummed-up fakes and breaks cleanly off the spoon instead of clinging in a rubbery ribbon. For a first step out of the corn syrup aisle that doesn't need a specialty store or a big spend, this is the one. Best option number 3, Butternut Mountain Farm. This is the real version of the Vermont promise that Vermont made only borrowed. It's an actual Vermont operation in Morrisville, run by the Marvin family, who have been sugaring since the 1940s, now one of the largest maple processors in the country while still being family-owned and Vermont-based. The label is one ingredient, pure Vermont maple syrup, sold in the Grade A color classes, golden, amber, dark, and very dark, which describe how the syrup tastes rather than any measure of quality. Honesty check, being large doesn't automatically make a brand transparent, and size is worth watching in any company. But this is a genuine family business, rooted in the state whose name the fakes keep renting, selling exactly what it says. Open a bottle of the amber, and it's a lesson in what the word maple is supposed to mean. Real color with light in it, a rich, rounded flavor that actually shifts as it sits on the tongue, caramel and vanilla, and a faint minerality, nothing flat or one note about it. It behaves like maple in the pan, too, thinning into oatmeal or running over pancakes without the rubbery cling of gum. And it's not a specialty store luxury. It turns up in regular supermarkets and warehouse clubs at a price a normal household can absorb. This is the everyday Vermont bottle done properly, by people who actually tap the trees. Best option number 2, Runemock. This is where real maple stops being just breakfast and starts being something a cook reaches for on purpose. Runemock is a Vermont producer, certified organic, and it built its reputation on transparency and craft, single-origin bottlings, and a modern, chef-driven approach that treats maple the way a good producer treats olive oil or honey, as something with terroir worth talking about. The base syrup is exactly one ingredient, organic maple, and they're open about where it comes from and how it's made. The honest caveat is straightforward. This one costs more, and it leans boutique, so it's a step up in price from the everyday bottles above it. What you get for that is clarity. Open it, and the aroma is clean and layered, the flavor precise, a bright, well-defined maple, with none of the murky, overcooked heaviness cheaper syrup can carry. It's the kind of syrup that makes you taste maple as a real specific flavor rather than a generic sweetness. If Coombs and Butternut are the proof that real maple can be an everyday habit, Runemock is the proof of how good it gets when a producer treats the trees and the person eating it with actual respect. It's a bottle you keep for the weekend rather than the whole week, and it earns that spot. And that brings us to the one that goes furthest of all. Best option number 1, Crown Maple. If the whole point of this video is knowing exactly what you're pouring and where it came from, this is the brand built around answering that question. Crown Maple is estate, produced at Medeva Farms, an 800-acre property in Dutchess County, New York, and that word, estate, is the entire difference. Nearly everything else on the shelf is blended from many sources you'll never see. Crown Maple controls the whole chain, from the trees on their own land to the bottle, what the industry calls bark to bottle. That means full traceability. They can tell you where the sap was collected, and the syrup is a single ingredient, pure maple, from a defined place. The honest caveat is the price. This is a premium bottle, and it reflects one estate's specific style rather than a bargain. But you are paying for the thing every brand on the avoid list refused to give you: a straight answer about origin. Open it, and it's the cleanest version of maple in this entire lineup, a crystalline amber with real light in it, an aroma that's pure and precise, a flavor with nothing muddy or burnt underneath. It's not the bottle you buy on price. It's the one you buy when you want to know for certain that a tree in a place you can name made it. This is what maple tastes like when a producer publishes exactly where it's from and stakes their name on it. Here's what this entire aisle comes down to. The word maple on the front of a bottle is not a promise that maple is inside it. For most of the best-known names in the breakfast aisle, the Cozy Cabin, the Smiling Grandmother, the state on the label, it's corn syrup and high-fructose corn syrup, colored brown with caramel dye and flavored to imitate a tree, sold at real maple prices. 4 brands went the other way, and the difference shows up the second you open them. So here's what to actually do standing in that aisle. First, flip the bottle over before you look at anything on the front. The front is advertising. The back is the truth. Second, read the very first ingredient. If it's corn syrup or high fructose corn syrup, put it back, no matter what the front says, no matter how rustic the cabin or how much it leans on a state's name. Real maple syrup has exactly one ingredient, and that ingredient is maple syrup. Third, be suspicious of any bottle that hides behind a place or a person. Vermont, a grandmother, a log cabin, without the ingredient list to back it up. The more folksy the front, the more carefully you should read the back. Fourth, for real maple, look for the ones that tell you where it came from and, better still, publish their testing. Single ingredient, defined origin. A family or estate you can actually name. And here's the test you can run tonight. Take whatever is in your cabinet and hold a spoonful up to the light. Real maple has depth and shifting color, and it breaks cleanly off the spoon. The fakes are a flat, uniform brown that clings in a rubbery ribbon, because that's gummed corn syrup, not sap. The labels on those 9 bottles haven't changed. The corn syrup was always the first ingredient. What changes now is that you'll turn the bottle over before it goes in the cart. If this changed how you see that shelf, share it with someone who still reaches for the Smiling bottle every Sunday. Now you know what to actually look for.